Hello guys, welcome to Dr. Science. So today we are going to talk about the landmarks of the middle ear. So first we will draw a small diagram here. This is your external pinna and this is your external auditory canal, which will eventually fuse with the tympanic membrane. And corresponding to the tympanic membrane, we have the middle ear. Usually the middle ear have three bones, which are your malleus, incus and stapes, which are called as your ear ossicles. Now today we are going to see what are the structures that are present laterally to the middle ear, what are the structures on the roof, what are the structures on the medial part of the middle ear, and what are the structures that are present on the floor of your middle ear. So first we will talk about the lateral part of the middle ear. Structures that are passing to the lateral wall of middle ear. So in order to understand the lateral part of the middle ear, first we have to understand about the tympanic membrane. So this is the tympanic membrane, and for a second we will assume this is your middle ear. Okay, this box here is your middle ear. As you can see here, there is this middle ear which is going above the tympanic membrane. Now this part which is going above the tympanic membrane is called as your epitympanum. And similarly, below you can see there is this part which is going below your tympanic membrane. So this part of the middle ear is called as your hypotympanum. And similarly, we have this part which is corresponding to the tympanic membrane, and this is your mesotympanum. So usually the middle ear in corresponding to the tympanic membrane is divided into epi, meso and hypotympanum. So the epitympanum is usually, the epitympanum here, as you can see here, is covered by a bone. The epitympanum is protected by a bone, and this bone is called as your scutum. I hope you are clear with the term. It is called as your scutum. So what are the structures that are present laterally to the middle ear? One is your tympanic membrane, and the other one is your scutum. So first one was your scutum. The second one is your tympanic membrane, which are present on the lateral wall of the middle ear. I hope you are clear with the terms of it. Next we will talk about the roof of the middle ear. Now this is very easy part, you don't have to mug up. So this is the middle ear. Usually the middle ear on the roof have a lobe. Let's draw with a different color. Okay, this one. So usually the middle ear is having the temporal lobe of the brain, and not only that, the temporal lobe of the brain is covered by a meninge, and this meninge is your dura mater. So on the top of the middle ear or on the roof of the middle ear, there are mainly two structures. One is your temporal lobe, and the second one is the dura mater. In some books it is given as the dura mater of your temporal lobe as a single structure, okay, that are present on the roof of the middle ear. If you are clear with that one, next we will talk about the structures that are passing lateral to your middle ear. So this is a little bit complicated, so please pay attention. So this is the middle ear. Now we have already completed with the structures that are present laterally and the structures that are present on the roof. Now we will see what are the structures that are present on the medial part of the middle ear. So usually we have the inner ear which is present on the medial part of the middle ear. So this inner ear, we will draw the inner ear like this. So this is the inner ear, and as you can see here, the inner ear have a base. This inner ear is called as your cochlea, and this cochlea is usually having a base, and this is called as your basal promontory. Once again, usually the inner ear, which is your cochlea, have a base which is called as your basal promontory. And not only that, cochlea have some canals, and these canals are called as your lateral semicircular canals. What are these? Lateral semicircular canals. So in the medial part of the inner ear, we have the cochlea. In the cochlea, we have the basal promontory and the lateral semicircular canal. We will draw the inner ear once again. I mean the middle ear. So this is the middle ear, and the middle ear have two depressions, 1 and the 2. Usually the lateral semicircular canal will pass on the medial wall. Not only that, I already told you there will be the base or the basal promontory will also pass on the medial wall of your middle ear cavity. Now, not only that, usually I already told you our middle ear consists of 3 bones, right? This is the middle ear. Middle ear consists of malleus, incus and stapes. But for this purposes, I will draw only the stapes. Usually the stapes is divided into head of the stapes and the foot of the stapes. The foot of the stapes is going into a window which is present on the medial wall, and this window is called as your oval window. Okay, the foot plate of the stapes is going into the oval window. Similarly, on the medial wall, there is a round window also. So now it is clear that what are the structures that are passing through the, the structures that are present on the medial wall of the middle ear. So what were it? 1, 2, 3, 4. One was your basal promontory, right? The basal promontory and the lateral semicircular canal. The basal promontory, the lateral semicircular canal, the oval window and the round window. All these structures are present on your medial wall of your middle ear. So once again, we will draw the depressions here. This is the medial wall of your middle ear. These are the depressions that are present on the medial wall of the middle ear. What was the first one? It was the lateral semicircular canal. Okay. The second one was your basal promontory. Not only that, we have our oval window and our round window. So these 4 structures are passing at the medial part of the middle ear. I hope you are clear with this. Next, we will talk about the floor of the middle ear. Floor of middle ear. The structures which are present at the floor of the middle ear. Once again, we have to draw the middle ear here. So this is the middle ear. And now we are going to talk about the floor of the middle ear. In order to understand this, we have to draw the mastoid process. Usually mastoid is a bone in the temporal part of the lobe. So this mastoid usually have the air cells. One of the biggest air cell present in the mastoid is your antrum. Now this mastoid and the antrum, the mastoid and the middle ear are connected via a tube, and this tube is called as your adductus. I hope you are clear with these terms. Now we have to see what are the structures that are passing below the middle ear. So we have the sigmoid sinus, which is a dural venous sinus. Okay, this is a sigmoid sinus, and sigmoid sinus will eventually give the jugular bulb, which will eventually end as your internal jugular vein. So this is your sigmoid sinus. Now what is the sigmoid sinus? Sigmoid sinus is a type of venous sinus. Please watch my video regarding dural venous sinus in order to understand this. So this sigmoid sinus will eventually form a bulb. This is called as your jugular bulb, which is present at the floor of your middle ear, and this will eventually end into the internal jugular vein. So what is the structures that are present in the floor of the middle ear? That is your jugular bulb. I hope you are clear with the term. Now I already covered all the 4 sections. Now we will just revise it quickly. So this is your middle ear. Now what were the structures that were present laterally? It was the tympanic membrane and the bone which was present there, which was the scutum. What was at the top of the middle ear or the roof? It was the temporal lobe with its dura mater. Temporal lobe with its dura mater. Now there were 4 structures which are present on the medial wall of the middle ear. What were those? First we will talk about the oval window. Next we will talk about the round window. Not only that, we have the semicircular canal, lateral semicircular canal with the basal promontory, which were the 4 structures on the medial wall of your middle ear. Now what were the structures that were passing at the floor of the middle ear? It was the sigmoid sinus, especially the jugular bulb, okay, that were passing through the floor of the middle ear. Now similarly, middle ear have 4 walls, right? No, actually the middle ear also have an anterior and posterior wall. So this is the middle ear. We are taking a sagittal section. This is the posterior wall, this is the anterior wall, this is the roof, and this is the floor. So as you can see here, so this is the eyes of the patient. Let's draw like this. So this is the nose, these are the lips of the patient. So this is a sagittal section, okay, and these are the eyes of the patient. So as you can see here, it also have an anterior part and a posterior part. We'll first know the structures which are present at the anterior part of the middle ear. So please remember, this is a sagittal section. This is a sagittal section of the middle ear, and we are going to see the anterior parts, anterior structures which are passing through your middle ear. So usually we have a tube here which is passing in the anterior part of your middle ear, and this tube is called as your eustachian tube. Not only that, we have an artery passing in the anterior part of the middle ear, which is called as your internal carotid artery. And aside from that, there is a bone, there is a muscle which is passing. This is is your muscle which is passing, and this muscle is eventually going and attaching to the malleus. As I already told you, the middle ear consists of malleus, incus and stapes. So as you can see here, this green color muscle is going and attaching to the malleus, and this muscle's name is tensor tympani. Okay, so what are the three structures that are present in the anterior wall of the middle ear? The answer is simple. One is tensor tympani. The second one is your internal carotid artery. The third one is your eustachian tube. I hope you are clear with the parts. Next we will talk about the posterior, which is very simple. So once again we will draw the middle ear. This is the sagittal section again, and here was your anterior part. Now we will see the posterior part. Now posteriorly there is a pyramidal shape opening, and through this pyramidal shape opening there is only one muscle which is passing, and this muscle will eventually fuse with the stapedius. Okay, stapedius or the stapes, foot plate of stapes will eventually fuse with this muscle. Now what is the name of this muscle? This muscle is called as your stapedius muscle, which will be helpful in stapedial reflex. I will talk about stapedial reflex in my next part, so don't worry. So here is your malleus, here was your incus, and we have the stapes with its foot plate. So the stapes is supplied by a muscle called as your stapedius muscle, which is coming through the pyramidal opening. Okay, so what are the structures which are present posterior to your middle ear? The answer is very simple. It is only one muscle, which is your stapedius muscle. I hope you are clear with this, all the structures that are passing or the structures present on the walls of your middle ear. Thank you guys.